It's recording in the back. Hmm.
All right, council, if everybody would go live. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's regularly scheduled meeting. Today is April the 10th, 2023. We've got a pretty full meeting. Got a few folks who are signed up, so we'll get to everybody this evening. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the comments, thank you, sir. We've got Reverend Roosevelt Phillips Jr. and Matt, is that Jackson?
Jutman.
Say again?
Jutman.
Jutman, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so are there particular agenda items that either of you gentlemen want to address?
Number 7, just if needed.
All right, number 7. I'll make that mark that way. We'll be sure to get to you. And Reverend Phillips, any particular item you want to speak on?
No, I just wanted to make a comment.
Okay, certainly. If you would tell us who you are and speak into the mic, sir, just so we can make sure it's recorded. And give us your address, please, and then you are free to speak.
All right. My name is Reverend Roosevelt Phillips Jr. My address is 801 South Adams Street. I just wanted to briefly say something. I've said it in smaller circles, and I just wanted to say it to Mayor and the council. You know, I applaud what y'all are doing with the city and the regentrification and the growth. And I understand with the growth come growing pains. And what I wanted to say was, let's be mindful what we're doing when we're growing, because we want to be careful not to take quantity for quality. We have a very, very unique community, and it's a very, very small, loving community. And when we start stacking people on top of people like kind of look like we're doing, we're going to run into some different issues, some criminal elements. When you put a lot of people together, I'm not saying good people aren't coming here, but I'm saying people know people that know people that know people. And that's going to be something that, let's just be honest. Right now, our law enforcement, the biggest thing they have to do is look out for traffic violations. And that's going to change once we get a lot of people in here, you know, and it's going to be a lot of different stuff. And the other part I wanted to say was, we let these developers come in here and they're doing their job and they're making their money. Let's look at doing something for the longtime voters of McGregor, the longtime citizens. We have some older residents that don't have the $300,000-$400,000 houses. I'm heading up a program now to try to, it's finna be summer. In Texas, it get hot. I'm trying to get a program together now to do air conditionings for some of the seniors in some of the older houses. And we need some programs for the kids. It's finna be school. School's finna be out. And we need something like a thing over on the west side they have called a connection with some laptops, some computers to help the kids further their education during the summer, you know. And the last thing I want to say, some good companies come here. I'm a retired pipe fitter. So like the Mercer company, I like what they do. But when we do these deals, let's be mindful and be considerate. There are some young people in McGregor to make a life out of their job. Let's have, you know, I don't know how to put it together. That's why I'm bringing it to you smart people. Let's get a percentage of these new companies coming in here to hire from in here. It's beautiful to make people come from everywhere, but let's look out for McGregor people. And thank y'all for y'all time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Phillips, I think you'll hear that we share a lot of your concerns and sentiments, and so hopefully that'll be part of the discussion that you'll hear tonight in other council meetings as we continue to grow and deal with the growth, both the city and the school. We got a lot of things to be considerate of as the growth is upon us, that's for sure. Okay, and Mr. Junton, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'll hold you till item 7 then, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So that takes us to the consent agenda. Item 1A, consider approving minutes of council meeting held on March 13th, 2023. Those minutes are in your packet. There were a lot to them as we covered close to 40 items that evening, so everybody have a chance to take a look at them. Any changes, corrections need to be made? If not, I take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item 1A. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 2, discussion and possible action regarding approval of ordinance O-7-2023, an ordinance of the City of McGregor, Texas, changing zoning classification for a certain property located within the city limits of the City of McGregor. Brian, I'm guessing this is you.
Yes, sir. Mayor,
All right.
council. We visited this one a few weeks ago. And y'all voted on approving some residential zoning for general commercial. That's the, thank you, Kevin. That's the 8 acres for the 90-bed skilled nursing facility. So this is just an ordinance that makes it official. We'll put it in the record and update our zoning map.
I know, Brian, that we've, these folks have been before us a couple of times. This doesn't really have to do with anything regarding how they are building the facility, right?
No, this is just, well, there was a vote by council to approve the zoning change. This just makes it an official zoning change, puts it on the record, and allows us to give it to our partners, Walker Partners, and get it updated for future visibility.
Okay.
So no public hearing, that's already taken place. This is just voting on the ordinance as it reads.
Yeah, understood. Putting in writing what we've already voted on. Yeah. All right, so does anybody have any questions about what we're doing here? And if there are none, is there a motion on item 2?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance O-7-2023.
Sir. There's a motion and a second on item 2. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 3 is to hold a public hearing regarding preliminary plating for the ranch residential development phase 1.
So this is, the ranch phase 1 is over here. This is Windsor. This is the Ford dealership. And the Cedar Chest is right here. So this will be phase 1, and then phase 2 will be a later discussion. Currently zoned R10, proposed as a planned development. So we'll have discussions between city manager and staff coming up on that. Then they'll have to look at what the city is getting, what the developer is getting, trade-offs, and then an annexation timeline for phase 2. Highway frontage is commercial, which is 11 acres here. You have the front section is commercial. They're already in talks with some brands to go in there. The duplexes will be proposed on this side. Over here, they have 44 duplex lots for 88 units. Typical lot size is about 80, 85 feet by 120, 130, which gives them 9,600 square foot or greater lot size. Setbacks, front and rear 25 foot, interior side is a 6 foot, and the street side is 15 foot per code. Patio homes are proposed on this side over here with 47 lots. A typical lot is 55 by 105. Gives them a 5,775 square foot or greater lot. Same setbacks, 25 front and back, 6 on the interior and 15 on the street side. Total units planned in phase 1 is 91 total units, and or 91. Yeah, I've got 91 total units. And then this is the example of the structure that they have there. There's a traffic study that's been completed, provided to TxDOT, and then they're going to get water and sewer from the old rail bed behind them. That's the dividing line between phase 1 and phase 2. They have expressed wanting to dedicate a green space here in phase 1 and then a green space over here to the city in phase 2. And then the proposed Cottonwood Trail does run down the middle of their 2 phases there. The developer has worked with us. They plan on putting some bike lanes throughout their development, and they're hopeful that this spurs the development of Windsor running south as a loop to the industrial park in McGregor.
So that center road is Windsor?
No, Windsor would be right here if it
right
develops
there.
out, would be right
Okay,
here,
good.
yeah. This is Ranch Road, which is a road in their subdivision that will run,
Can you back up one slide?
well, just
Yeah,
to here.
that one right
Yeah.
there. Okay.
So, yeah,
okay,
so this
now I
is the edge,
understand.
and then the other road would come in essentially somewhere in
And
that
that's
area.
an old rail bed that goes along.
Right here.
behind.
So this is where they get their water and their sewer connections
Okay.
here.
This has come before us.
Almost a year ago, y'all saw the conceptual for it, April last year.
Yeah, I was trying to look for the video, but we only went back to, I think, July.
I guess it is a year.
Even then, they were proposing the duplexes at that time.
That's correct. Duplexes, yeah, the original number was much denser than that. We've had some conversations with them about the density, and they have made the lot size a little bit bigger and a couple less duplex units in the development.
And then, when I was looking at the pictures on this one, is this a front or is this a back?
Their front entry, correct, all of them? Yeah, so these will be on the front, the roadway. This is not their actual architecture, this is just a likeness of something they would propose to builders.
So the bottom right is what they're calling a patio home?
No, this is a patio home here,
That's a patio home.
so it's got a smaller yard.
The bottom right then is a duplex?
Yeah, these are the duplex designs.
Well, listen, y'all, I had this conversation with Kevin earlier today. And everybody sees the notes from the P and Z. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of concern about this, and I share a lot of those concerns as well, and I think we need to spend a little time talking about this and really what is the long-range plan for what we want to do. So as we know, all property like this comes in, what, Kevin, is R10?
Yes, sir, this was annexed in as R10.
And so R10 is single-family residential. We've modified the front side of it for commercial development, which makes sense. I know the gentleman has some things going out there. That's what the commercial pads show. But my concern is the number of duplexes, patio type homes. I don't know, we've never really been faced with this. You know, last meeting, we stopped a couple of what we believed were houses that were shoved in really small lots because we had expressed we were getting a little tired of people taking a normal size lot and cutting it up into 2 or 3 and shoving houses in there. And for the first time, I think on a large scale, we're being faced with the question of, is this what we want to do on a large scale basis? You know, some of these patio home lots, we're talking 5,000 square foot lot. There are a lot of houses that border 5,000 square feet. And we're talking about the lot size itself. You know, we're talking about 44 duplexes. That'd be, what, 88 units? And then you put 47 patio homes. Well, that's just a lot of people. That's a lot of cars. And you can call it what you want, but most duplexes at some point are gonna end up rent property. Patio homes, maybe not as much. And so, we've never really had this discussion, but it's upon us.
Mayor, if I may, has a traffic impact analysis been done on this plan yet?
Yeah, they did one. It's not that old. It's less than a year old. It was after they presented to y'all that they started preparing one. It was presented to TxDOT a few months ago.
What has TxDOT said?
Not received
Okay.
commentary yet back from her.
The last time you and I talked, I thought we talked in terms of doing their second entry
What?
off of.
As far as like the number of cars, Kevin, I don't have that offhand, but they did change the turns here to accommodate a TxDOT requirement of 425 feet between
Right.
the two entrances.
Well, I've actually talked to TxDOT and to our engineers, and I thought you were looking at Windsor Road extension and an entrance off of that at one point. And I could be corrected, but I think we need to see the TIA, and I think we may need to participate in a TIA of the intersection of Windsor.
Ask Jacob, do you recall that conversation with TxDOT where she was saying anything about their timeline for Windsor? No. Yeah, we didn't get a good vibe from them as far as like them wanting to signalize that or turn it into a 4-way stop. We did at one point present to the developer about basically doing away with this lot and doing some kind of partnership where the city can build out some and they can build out some here to have their second entrance. But I think it was too costly and they decided to just add the second entrance in here and have it come back around.
Well, costly is kind of a relative term, because if we look at doing Windsor, we're gonna have part of that on ourselves. But I think we need to look at that before we go any further. Windsor is gonna be a very important road for us as it goes south and turns back to the west. And that probably won't impact their other two entrances, but I think we need to give it a study. And we need to look at part of theirs probably coming off there, and that would probably be something, just guessing, along the backside of their commercial stuff. But
They do have a planned road that would go running back here behind the commercial, but it's not part of the residential. It's once these get built out, they've expressed building a road along the backside there.
well, and I think that would be smart. And they're not gonna put a 4-way stop on 84. They're gonna do it signalized, and obviously that would partially be ours as well.
What's phase 2 gonna be?
Phase 2 should be single-family homes, about 8,200 square foot lots. And theirs does have right now a preliminary plan to have entrances off of hopefully a future build out of Windsor for here, but then this road coming in as well.
About how many?
I don't know, what's the number for phase 2?
161.
161 homes.
Well, you're talking about enough density to actually give a good, strong look at Windsor. Jacob, y'all got somebody that y'all use for TIAs?
Yes, sir, we typically use, a gentleman by the name of Larry Callclaser with Malden Auto Parquet. I believe he's the one that the Hans contracted with to do their TIA for
Okay.
their development.
So TIA, I understand the importance of that, needing to do that. Because again, we're, to me, expanding, the city significantly on, would be the east side, and that's okay. We're already doing that out at the parks area. And we're doing that heading now south towards Crawford with another development. But again, there's just significant differences in those two developments from this one. Those are single-family residential homes in all phases. This is different, and so I've voiced my concerns. I'm curious what the rest of the council thinks. It's the first time we've ever really had an opportunity, an open session to discuss it. And, you know, we've got a gentleman sitting back here who's got a bunch of money invested in a piece of property and probably has some amount invested in a preliminary plan up here, and we don't need to, again, I'm very hesitant to just jump out there and in the next 10 minutes think that we need to make a decision about this, because this is a much bigger deal to me than saying, hey, thanks, this is the first time you've seen this, and we need to make a decision in 10 minutes about it. I'm not much for that. Because again, it came in as R10, so we're being asked to make a change that I just think has a significant effect on what we do now and in the future.
Well, anytime you do a planned development like this, you really need to look at all the angles possible. And I do want to do a TIA on the Windsor and some flow analysis on going 2 or 3 different directions. I also need, on a separate note, Walt, I need to visit with you about the fire plans and the water plans on the storage units. I had a visit with my folks this morning trying to break that thing out and let you get going with it, and ran into the fire planning and the water planning there that we need to have a conversation about. There are a couple of ways we can go with that, but we just need to have that conversation straight up about it. Mayor, and again, I'm not trying to keep anybody from saying their piece here, but I'm going to recommend that we table this until we get a TIA that includes what's going on at that intersection, and have some conversation with TxDOT. Signalization is probably going to be it. That's going to be very expensive. But it may be that time, if this moves forward, we're going to have those plans in place. And it wouldn't happen right away. We'd have time to budget for our portion of that and so forth. But I'm even curious about the frontage roads that are there. Would they continue them, or would they
That's what I would think.
kill them out? How are they going to handle that signalization? That deserves a study as well. There's eventually going to be a signalization situation down at Cotton Belt. We'll probably have to participate in some of that because we'll have traffic creating that as well. But it's not inside our city. It's not in our ATJ either.
And all of us probably remember when they put in Twin Rivers on the other side of the road. There was a road cut there initially, and that served, I guess, everybody okay for a little while until there were a handful of accidents there, and then they closed it off, made people loop back around, and then that really is what spurred an overpass, which this might need as well, frontage roads and an overpass. Again, I'm not suggesting that we would hold up anybody's development until that occurred, but those things need to be considered.
The larger study that TxDOT is doing as far as a southern spur, if you will, or set to take off. I know they've hired somebody to do that. We'll be part of that pretty quick. But it's probably gonna go out wider, and that's probably, using a lot of probablys, that, my suspicion is that's where the open pass will be. It could be Cotton Belt, it could be some new, it could be Windsor. I don't expect it'll be Windsor, but they're probably gonna wanna get further out with that, but we'll see how that develops. But, this is our opportunity to take a close look at Windsor. And I really thought that's what was coming back, was the road right there. Maybe I just misunderstood. But that's where I'm at.
Feel a little bit more comfortable if phase one were more like proposed phase two. I mean, with all the duplexes and the smaller lots. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'd prefer single-family homes.
Are you the developer, sir?
I'm Walt. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're free to speak your piece.
Probably don't want me to do that.
Well, why is that?
Here, well, the council voted a year ago, 1 year ago, to approve our concept. That included duplexes, 80-something duplexes. We've reduced the size. We have worked closely with Brian to make our lots bigger, reduce the exposure. We have done everything we've been asked to do to make this happen. We are hundreds of thousands of dollars into this project. A TIA was done over a year ago. It's been made to the city at least twice, been made available to them. There's, you're asking for a TIA, it's been done. What the TIA said is that we have to have a deceleration lane coming into that middle road. So we have it drawn in. And, we've complied with the, I don't know, there's requirements for a PUD, lot size, all those things. We've complied with all of that. The city's had a long time, a year, to look at any concerns that they would have, because we followed the vote of the council giving us, saying go ahead and proceed. It's a 3-step process. And so we have done exactly what we're supposed to do. And we've done it with what we've been asked. We've made changes. There have been times we were asked to put a road in and then take a road out. I have concerns about Windsor. I don't know when that's going to happen. I can't plan my project around TxDOT any more than y'all can plan around TxDOT. TxDOT's their own animal. They're going to do what they want to when they want to. And, I've talked to Tanya at TxDOT, and I've said, hey, we wish you'd designate a road here. That we'd love to have a couple of extra egress, ingress points in the backside that alleviate traffic on 84. And she just laughs and says, that's a county, city problem, not ours. So, and it's certainly not mine, but again, the council voted on the concept, which included duplexes. And we have proceeded in good faith to this point here. We're asking for this to be approved. We can't even get a bid on utilities or anything because we've got to have something approved and accepted. And we've made major changes at the request of the city. And so we came in tonight, we're expecting approval of this. And I appreciate the concern about the road and those things, but y'all have had a year to look at that. That's not on me.
They didn't have a year with patio homes sitting there either.
Yeah.
It's new to this council.
Yeah, Mr. Strickland, I don't think the council has seen that.
No, we had 80-something duplexes, and we were asked to change that and reduce the exposure of the duplexes because they wanted more homes. And so we put in homes. There's nothing wrong with a patio home. There are people that suits their lifestyle very nicely. It's a whole market by itself. But we made those changes at the request of the city, because they didn't want that many duplexes, and they wanted bigger lots and less exposure. So we did so. And we've acted in good faith and worked really hard to get to this point.
How many duplexes are we looking at there?
There's 44 there, sir.
Okay, and then how many patio homes?
47.
47.
You know, if the concern there, I can make patio home lots bigger. I can make that a little bit different animal. But that fit very nicely there. And it's like two separate subdivisions. That's a 70-foot wide road going in there with a turn lane, road each way with a turn lane in the middle. There's fences on each side. So it's like a main thoroughfare that those subdivisions come off of. Kind of isolates them, if you will.
Well, this is just something far different than we've ever been asked to approve, and something out of the norm, I can tell you that, as I've expressed tonight.
And I can understand that,
It's
but we started this a year ago. It's not just a brand new process. Any other questions for me? All right.
So, as far as, Mr. Mayor, the patio home concept, I mean, I do think that's nice. There's some really nice areas in Waco and the Chimney Hill area, the area there in Woodway, those are all patio homes. It's just a lot less lawn, you know, to take care of, which, you know, I will admit is pretty appealing. The older you get, the less lawn you want. And, but they look nice. I mean, they're very well landscaped. They, generally speaking, hire a single person to take care of all the landscaping for the entire complex. And the areas I've seen, they've been really, really nice.
So if you have, well, I know phase two, Mr. Strickland, consists of single-family residential. I'm assuming that the consideration on the front end was just financial, right? I mean, you can put more homes, make more money on phase one doing it this way as opposed to making the entire subdivision single-family residential.
Well, we feel like there's a need in a market for some rental property, the duplexes. When you know, you've got all these industries coming in here, and they need a place to live. When we built the apartment complex, we filled that up faster than we could CO each building. And, you know, stayed 100% occupied. And the demand's there. Where are the workers gonna go? But what we tried to do is create separate neighborhoods. Have a rental neighborhood with duplexes, have single-family homes. In the patio home area, that's a single-family home, and that's a neighborhood in itself. And then the backside is a much bigger home, much bigger lot, higher end. And so you're trying to meet three different markets there.
Do you have any solidifying plans for the commercial areas?
What do we have planned?
Yeah, do you have anything that's kind of
Yes, sir.
solid?
There's as soon as we get it permitted, we've got a climate-controlled storage building going in.
Right.
There on the corner. We've had meetings with 3 different hotel Hilton, Cobblestone, and who else? Wyndham. We've had meetings with 3 different hotels, and we're trying to negotiate a hotel to set up on the west corner up here. But, you know, everything takes time, and we can't negotiate too far because we've got nothing to really say, hey, here it is, here's where you can put it.
Wyndham McGregor, never thought I'd hear that.
Hilton, Ritz-Carlton.
Well, the hotel right now is running about $120,000 a door. So you're looking at a $8 to $9 million project, and somebody's not going to come in here and build that, which the city needs, according to the study they've had, unless they have a place to do it.
Okay, thank you.
When you say we've never done this before, is it on the scale or the mixture of both?
Scale.
The scale.
I mean, we've got duplexes scattered in
Yeah.
single lots
Right.
in and around McGregor
Yeah, this is putting them all in
Nothing.
one.
of this magnitude.
Well, if you go into Waco and look at, across from the Heart of Texas Fairgrounds, back behind the funeral home, somebody came in and took that land around that big tower, and they put in little patio homes, made a whole subdivision out of it. That's where the picture came from. Go look at it sometime. It's a fantastic little development. That's where the first picture came from. And the apartments that you're looking at there are at 23rd and Austin. Those are actually fourplexes, and they're bigger buildings, but we're using that same model for a duplex because we like the way it looked. It's just, you know, it gives a nice street appeal. Again, you got more than one market here, and we're trying to maximize what we can offer. And as far, you mentioned the density, we reduced the density, but, you know, the numbers we're being given, preliminary numbers, are like $700 a linear foot, put in water, sewer, and roads. It's a huge chunk of money. And we can't do that without selling lots.
Yeah, I
So,
understand that. Only way
it's
you
a
cover your
trade-off.
costs is- Only way you cover your costs is by squeezing the lots and selling more buildings and getting more people in there. I get that, but that's the trade-off for our cost too, is
Sure.
exactly squeezing the lots, putting more people in. Just as the gentleman said right here, 10 minutes ago before I mean, it just brings a whole set of issues that this community has never dealt with, and we're about to deal with something totally different than, I don't know that anybody
Lorena,
understands or appreciates.
yeah, Lorena's in the same shape. When is Knopf scheduled to be online? I mean,
You know, that's not a very good, it's
I'm
not
just
a very
wondering
good
about-
analogy though to Lorena, because Lorena, as a percentage, has a much greater percentage of single-family residences than probably McGregor does based on per capita.
maybe so, when they're also quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Bigger lots, much bigger lots.
You're right.
You know who their biggest market is? From Temple North, it's people that live in Georgia and work in Georgetown, Austin area, and rather than live down there and pay the taxes, they drive up here. And they drive back and forth.
And although it's not my direct concern, you know, we have our outgoing superintendent sitting back there, and I'm sure he's thinking, my gosh, how the world do we place and educate this many people all at this compressed period of time. Am I right, James Littleman? I mean, that's always a concern. And again, he's
Sure.
got his own issues to deal with, and I can't really mix the two, but sitting in this chair, we all think about that.
If I'm not mistaken, one of the biggest needs that the study showed that the city needed was an apartment complex. We built one, built it up, and that didn't satisfy the need entirely because you've got all these new industries now. You know, are you going to send a message to them, we have homes for you to live in? Or no, we don't. For your workers, where are their workers going to go?
Well, and then another issue is, again, you're showing us a picture. I would get back, and I don't know if this is even part of the equation. Not only how many, but the quality of construction. I mean, I know you've shown us a picture here, but I don't know, you know, is that what you're planning to build versus what, I mean, has there been any discussion about that? You know, whether it's hardy board, brick, masonry, facades. you know, what
100%
is it?
masonry.
Yeah. We talking wrought iron fences or plank privacy fences, or, I mean, there's just so much that goes into it, some of which we ought to have some say-so on the front end of it.
Well, the city has ordinances and codes, and we have to build by them. We
Yeah,
have to
but when it's
design
a-
by them.
When it's a planned unit development, it's a little different.
Yeah, you can look at design criteria quite a bit deeper on PUD.
But you know, when Brian and I talked about what are we going to build, I said, I can't spend money with an architect to draw me plans when I don't have lots approved. You know, this is a step in the process. But I can't go out and spend money to design 4 or 5 different products and then I don't have a place to put them.
Do you have any
Or they
proposed
need
deed
to
restrictions?
change.
Do you have any proposed deed restrictions yet?
Not until we get this approved, we can't. But our plans are no parking on the street. We're providing 4 parking places off-street for each unit. And, you know, the restrictions are gonna require, my rule of thumb is we hire one mower, one yard care guy, and he does it all. He comes in and does every single yard at one time, so, cause I don't wanna own a duplex and the guy next to me never mows his grass or takes care of his rose bushes. So, we plan on some fairly strict. It can't be a homeowners association because it's a rental, but whoever owns it has to comply with the restrictions we put on the build out.
So it seems like, Kevin, hadn't we had some idea before, like in a PUD?
Well, yeah, actually, you can require deed restrictions for every plat that you approve. A lot of times they're on the very face of the plat, or they're filed at the same time and referenced separately. You've done that a couple of times, actually.
That's what I thought.
Were you gonna originally consider an apartment complex in the front of this property, or that not for here?
I don't want to compete with another apartment complex.
looked at an apartment area on the other side of the tracks, but abandoned that fairly quickly on his own.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say that when we presented this last year, about this time, we had 86 duplexes and minus 10 acres. So the lots were even more dense. And so we've gone away from that after talking to Brian and understanding that y'all wanted to reduce the number of duplexes, so we did that. We ended up adding 10 acres in the backside for drainage and et cetera, but so it allowed us to build bigger lots than the original plan that you guys looked at back in April of last year. And we didn't get really a lot of questions at that time regarding the number of units and space.
But y'all, the reason y'all made the lots a little bit bigger is because we did talk about that at that time, right?
Yes, sir, and we got feedback. Brian's been great to work with, by the way, just
Yeah,
so
they-
you all know. He's worked really hard to get this thing cleaned up and moving forward. And so when he came to us and said, hey, you know, there's concerns about your density and so forth, we sat down and figured out a way to make that change.
And how big are the duplexes again?
They're 9,600 square foot lots. I don't know the square footage of the buildings that they've,
They'll vary from, there's 4 different models of duplex, and they'll vary from 850 a side to 1,600.
Like, are they gonna be two bedrooms?
I'm sorry.
The duplexes, you said there's 4 models. What kind of models are they gonna
Well,
be?
they're 2 bedrooms
Okay,
and 3 bedrooms,
okay.
okay? And the smallest one is 850 per side, and they go up from there.
Okay.
Try again, not everybody can afford a $1,600 or 1,600 square foot apartment or duplex. You know, most of the stuff, duplex wise, other than the 2-story ones we showed you a picture of, we're looking at a lot of porches, front porches with railings and things to kind of fit the design of the ranch, if you would. Not everything will be western, but we're trying to stick with the theme there and trying to, I like sitting on my front porch. So we're trying, when we build these duplexes, one of the things we look at is, can we incorporate that concept where somebody can sit on their front porch?
Kevin, what options do we have?
Well, about anything you wanna do, you can approve it, you can table it, or you can turn it down. That's on you. I'm pretty sure the TIA that you had done did not address Windsor Road even existing. And that's gonna be a pretty important piece of the puzzle for me. Even if your TIA addressed what you have there, if it did not specifically address Windsor, that's gonna have an impact.
Well, it
You and
didn't.
everybody else.
And we asked the state about that, and they said, that's none of our, they said for our TIA,
They were not aware we had Windsor planned there. Windsor's been planned there for a long time.
well, they were aware of it, because I asked them, we talked about it, but the TIA they asked for, and Larry is one that did it, was for the frontage on 84,
Okay.
okay? And so that was what we complied with. That's what the state asked for, and that's what we provided. And it's been made available to the city.
Yep, we've seen it. I've already checked on that. That's not my point. That TIA did not address Windsor Road actually being there.
I understand.
I want another TIA.
Well,
Just that simple.
How long does it take to get a TIA?
Jacob, what do you think?
Depends on how busy Larry is, or if, we could look to see if he wasn't available, we could look to see. But, I mean, for something like that, I would say probably anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
I see what you
What,
You know, we've had discussions about the Windsor Road addition. We would love to see that come in there. But, you know, knowing how the state works, right now you can't show the need for it. That's what they're gonna take. But until you get some density, some other traffic, you know, and it's kind of which comes first.
Well, I don't have to show a need for a road that the city's gonna be a part of. And also, you could be required to pay a part of that road and might be able to abandon one of your other roads. That intersection will be signalized someday, and your first entrance, I guess with the decel lane would probably work. But that's gonna be interesting to see how that works in light of the frontage road. And my curiosity is what they're gonna do with that frontage road.
You know, I've had that argument with TxDOT. I said, why are we planning something that in a year could change? You know, but they won't they won't put them together, they separate it. Here's my TIA, this is what we want from you all, it's right here. And so it's not that I'm not sympathetic to the Windsor Road issue, but we've addressed that with TxDOT, and they're not combining it. They said, we want your TIA to address your entrances and exits. I've even discussed that middle road there. Like you said, that shouldn't even be needed. The only reason we're putting it in is for fire code. But if they do a major intersection at Windsor, which is what it's gonna require, that's not gonna be a simple fix.
That's correct.
And I told Tanya, I said, why are we building a deceleration lane here that you may get torn out? I mean, it may not even ever get used, but you're dealing with TxDOT. And in the meantime, we need to be taking bids, trying to get dirt moved, and, you know, we're 6-8 months away from being able to hopefully even have lots staked out.
So people that are traveling westbound on 84 are gonna have to go up to Windsor to do a U-turn to come back just to get to their house.
Yeah, I believe TxDOT has said that they would remove this crossover that's right here. So yeah, I would have to come back down.
Like, it's just, it seems fewer.
are there any other things that would make us more comfortable immediately that they could do that don't drastically change what it is?
I mean, I was just asking him, do y'all know of any other city that has this amount of duplexes all in one area?
Oh, sure. Waco's got them all over.
Hewitt has them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
huge
Waco has
complex.
several different, on 84, there's a couple
Yeah.
of that are just simply duplex. China Springs has got a bunch of them.
It's a pretty typical development process where you have commercial and then denser, like multifamily or duplexes, and then single family. And as you progress, think of it as like a ring. You get further out, they get bigger lots, bigger houses. So this is right off the highway, so it would be the most dense housing.
I mean,
But-
I see what you're proposing, and I appreciate you're trying to bring all those markets to McGregor. It's, you know, like you said, it's just something, it is something new that we just really have to think about.
Well, I can appreciate the city wanting a TIA of their own. You know, I can appreciate your concerns. but it has been a year, and we've done everything we've been asked to do. And I just don't feel like that's a,
Well, listen, if there's miscommunication, you can call that on us then, but I can tell you, this council's not had this discussion ever, not about your subdivision or anybody else's. We've never had this discussion. And we have to meet in public session. We can't have walking around meetings with, of course, you can appreciate that would be illegal, so we've
Oh, I
never
understand.
had this kind of discussion. And that's why it's just such a big deal to us. And I've expressed the concerns I have, so yeah, I think like all of us, when Paul asked the question, or whoever, we would all feel a lot more at ease if you're saying, yeah, I'm gonna come in here like the other couple of big subdivisions have, who we've approved, and said, yeah, I wanna build single-family residences in this entire area. And again, I understand that's not your business model, it's not what you wanted to do here. But, it's not necessarily, I think, what we wanna do here either. It's just, difficult to get to a place where we both get comfortable with what you wanna do.
So, I got another question. Preliminary, so this is a preliminary plating, what would be the next step then? After
Final.
Mm-hmm.
the final plat?
Yeah, we'd have discussions about, because it is a PUD, discussions on what the city wants to give and take, what the mandates are gonna be, annexation talk, all those types of things, and then
Well,
they would.
annexation only covers phase 2, right?
Correct.
Not this. I mean, that's in the city limits.
Right, but we'd have to put a timeline
I see.
on that one, because of it being a PUD. So we'd have those discussions, drainage, engineering, other utilities and all that. So, there's some wiggle room in there for sure if they wanted to change some things around. Not drastically though, minor changes.
Who was at the planning and zoning meeting? I'm sure, Brian, you were. No?
Which one? Last year?
No, the most recent planning. and
Oh yeah, that
zoning.
was last week.
You were there.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else, city staff? Kevin, you probably were not.
It was not.
Yeah. Did they raise up any other issues, either for or against, that we haven't seen or heard?
No.
Because I'm just seeing here that there were 3 requests, there were 3 motions and 3 requests for a second to pass before it passed.
That's correct.
So what happened on the motions 1 and 2? It just died? For lack
No,
of a
no,
second?
they called for a motion, or somebody motioned, they called for a second, and then, David asked for someone to second it 3 times before they got a second.
I was just curious what this means here. P and Z recommended approval, but had 3 requests for a second motion.
They did vote, recommend it for approval, but they did have to wait a couple calls for a second on the motion.
So when we approved the concept a year ago, which, I mean, well, a lot's happened since then.
That would be your meeting where, they had multifamily in
Mhm.
parks, and it was a
They
full
took that
house.
out.
Same meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
there's
See,
a
I
3-step
remember
process for a PUD. You have your preliminary concept,
Mhm.
which the city approved. Then you go to work, you start doing your designs, which we've done. And the city has given input and provided what they wanted there, and we've done it. And so you bring that back for approval, because like you said, you can't bid your utilities or any of your roads, you can't do anything further until you have that locked down. And that's the second step. And then the final step is once roads and utilities are in and all the other, agreements are all locked in, then you have your final, that's when you go on your final plat.
Well, listen, we need to do something here. I wouldn't recommend that we kill it tonight. I think the options are somebody on the council makes a motion to approve it, we'll see if it passes, or we table it, and in the interim, we question this TIA issue, or, and as part of that tabling, we also see if there's any other concessions that can be done in the drawing of it. I don't think killing it's the thing to do tonight, but we can either pass it or table it, one or the other, but we need to do something unless there's any new information. We don't need to sit here all night with it.
Well, I'd rather not kill it either, especially since we approved the concept and, and a lot has gone on in the last year too. A lot of changes have happened in the last year, which makes it also more difficult just to say yeah and approve it, because things are ramping up around here pretty quickly. And we've already talked about putting the brakes on a couple of things. We were we were approving a lot of duplexes. We putting a moratorium on short-term rentals, and so we're having to look at things, but I'm not necessarily in favor of killing it either. I'd like to see if there's a way we could get there that makes us, that we do feel comfortable about.
Are we still on item 3, which is the public hearing? Did we?
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Anybody else have any comments from the council? I'll do that. I'll open the public hearing.
My only thing is other concern, when I look at this and then I look at the other one coming up, and I know what we've also approved here pretty recent, I start to wonder, and I know we're gonna be tying in to utilities here, but, water-wise, how are we here with the city and all these developments? Are we gonna end up running into issues too, where we're gonna have shortages or start having to do mandatory, I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
Or you're looking at the city of Waco, considering using the Brazos as a source of water.
Waco's in trouble.
Not because of housing.
Yeah, it won't be because of
Be
housing.
okay.
Okay.
Nah.
But for housing, we are doing what do we call it, a resource study for the industrial park, as is Blue Bonnet Water Supply Corporation for their part. But in the near term, you're fine for all the housing you've got on the board right now.
And again, we've got Waco and Belton, so.
Okay.
So would this be Blue Bonnet?
It's all of your water's Blue Bonnet except for the wells that you have.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, so let's do this. It's 7:38. The public hearing's open. Anybody from the public want to comment? Public hearing's open. Anybody? Hearing nothing, then, that the public hearing is closed. That takes us to item 4, which is discussion and possible action regarding preliminary plating for the Ranch Residential Development Phase 1. Anybody else?
No, only thing, we've way back from Paul and Jimmy and I been on the council quite a while. And one of the things that we way back were talking about, we wasn't even looking at all of the factories and stuff that come in here, but one of the things we were really in need of was housing. But, the only thing of it is, and I've spoke on this before, my thing is I was looking more, was hoping more in the single-family home, residential housing. And then and nothing wrong with duplexes, but it seemed to be all of a sudden, once those companies coming in here and new factories coming in here, it seemed like the duplex was just flying up, and everybody in here know what duplexes are. They're rental property. So eventually, then you're just gonna be, you're talking about other cities and stuff, but you're still talking about, we're speaking of McGregor. So you're more or less like building your town up with a lot of rental property. Where if you, and I know to the contractor and the people that's building, it's more feasible for us, them money-wise or whatever, in building Or you saying you build a home and it's not necessarily nobody gonna buy them, but, you know, you can't buy them if you don't build them. That's one thing for sure, but you build a duplex, somebody eventually gonna rent it. So that's my only concern is, we seem to have been kind of got away from, even, talking about, really looking at building homes. More or less just duplexes popping up everywhere. Just, look up, we was proving, to do a duplex, and we came up with a moratorium on building a duplex, because that's what was happening. And we would end up, like I said, especially over in the one section of town, eventually, where it was going mostly be rental property. That's what it's gonna be over there. Yeah, it replaced a lot of the, lot of vacant lots over there, and some of the houses, the old houses stuff over there. But you're still tearing down old houses or lots that just sitting there and putting rental property on it. So if you build them in rental property, nobody eventually stay in them a while and move out of them. What you gonna mostly have? You're gonna go back to just houses, rental, which is rental sitting there. And eventually, if you let a house, duplex, apartment, whatever, just sit, it's gonna go down. So that's just, everybody understand that. So that's my only thing. I just feel like and hope that it would be, and not even so much, and I'm thinking of when I say single-family homes that, not just, you know, where you're paying this $350,000, $400,000 houses. I'm talking about houses that people that even kind of want to start out, say what you call starter home, a small family with homes. I just feel like that if we could, you know, kind of have some contractor or whatever, developer coming in and even build some of those or more of them, instead of just duplexes. Yeah, you're gonna fill those duplexes. They're coming. A lot of these companies coming in, they're gonna bring people with them. We know that it ain't gonna be just all the people around here, but when they come here, yeah, they got to have a place to live. But if they come in and you got a single family home, it's man and a wife, or man and a wife, and one child, you know, they may come in and buy, because a lot of these factories come in and some of the wages, they could be able to afford some homes that's not in the $300,000, $400,000 range. So that's one of my concerns that I've always been concerned about. And even with this project, I just think that's something that we don't need to lose sight of, because we understand, we well know that we needed housing, because that was some of the problem. We didn't have housing. People working here, and factories come in, and yeah, they working at these factories, but where were they living? You know, Midway, Temple, you know, different places, Hewitt, whatever, and driving here, because there wasn't no place to live. So it's not that I'm against, you know, housing, but I mean the duplexes, but we need to really look at too about, you know, having some single-family homes and homes that people can afford to buy.
So how, if we table it tonight, how do we get from tonight to actually where we can make a decision? What's the?
It's gonna have to be up between staff and the developer.
I already sent it up to Jacob to see how fast we can get Larry to sit down with us all, push it as quick as possible. Love to have something for you by next meeting. It'd be my target to have it by May.
I can put it on the agenda for next month, but that deadline for notice.
That'll depend 100% on whether we can get Larry in the saddle that quickly or not. But Jacob's got a lot of pull.
Well, somebody needs to make a motion. I mean, we can't start arm twisting up here. Someone needs to make a motion about what we want to do, and we'll see how it rises or falls one way or another.
I make a motion to table.
I second.
Did I need?
Yeah.
Regarding the preliminary plating for the ranch residential development phase 1.
Second.
There's a motion, a second under item 4 as stated. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, council, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. Okay, so Kevin, keep us informed what happens along the way.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Strickland, I know that's not what you were looking for tonight, but I hope you can appreciate some of the questions and decisions we're being asked to make up here, and hopefully we can get this issue resolved for a win-win for everybody.
Thank you for your time. You know, it's only 82% single family homes. And then had a year to get a TIA home. The city's not taking care of their end of this deal.
He may have just solved next time for us. Okay, let's move to item 5, which is to hold a public hearing regarding the final platting of Cotton Belt Crossing Residential Development Phase 1.
So we have our development here, essentially the square plus or minus a couple acres in this corner. This is Cotton Belt Parkway, this is 84, and that's your city limits. You should have received in your packet 3 comments from some folks that live on Wildflower. Should have been 2 emails and 1 letter. This is currently not in the city limits. The developer has agreed to annexation, so we'll see that in the next couple months. 88 lots, 88 single-family homes, lot size 1/2 acre or greater. So that's 21,780 square foot lots. Setbacks on the front 25, rear 25, interior side yards are 12, and street side is 15. They do now have 2 entrances to meet the 2015 International Fire Code that we have. So the layout up here does not have it, but what they intend to do is to finish this road here and have it come up along the fence line as the second entrance. So they'll have the main entrance off of Cotton Belt, second entrance off of Wildflower, and they're going to run the sewer line. The original proposal was to finish this road all the way through here and then the sewer line. They're going to run the sewer line up this other finished road here, but then to cut it back and go back up this easement that was already proposed. The measurement here is not wide enough to have the fresh water and the sewer going up the same easement. Now that satisfies our requirement, probably saves them some money. They do have detention pond and lift station down here. Talked to Jacob today. He's almost done with their comments, and this should be finalized in the next couple days.
How big are these lots?
1/2 acre or greater.
Okay. It's big. It's better.
Now, the majority of them are 1/2 acre, especially in this where these blocks are just kind of gridded, but where the shapes get a little wonky is where the lot size gets a little bit bigger.
So again, just as comparison, patio home lots a minute ago were 5,000 square feet. These are 22,000 square feet.
Yeah, a lot bigger.
What was the average on patio homes exactly, 5,000 something?
It's right there.
The average size,
Yeah,
give or take 5,775.
yeah, it's not that far from R6.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big stretch to go to R6 on that, say it.
So we're talking lots 4 times as big.
Yeah, these are big lots.
So with that being said, one of the concerns in the email
There's something about
Was-
wildflower. Where is wildflower?
was the size, but I mean, those seem to be a
Yeah, that's-
Well, the email I think you're referencing to made commentary about, I don't mean to be derogatory, but they made commentary that they lived in the country and they're, you know, a stone's throw from a U.S. highway. So they're not really in the country. They do have bigger lots, but I wouldn't consider that country. So that was the argument, one of the emails.
And
Yeah.
wildfire
Or is
lots
it-
are 6 to 12 acres.
Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah,
good size.
A lot of privacy of it.
And again, look, that's part of anywhere you live.
Yeah.
You're just not always gonna be in the country.
No,
It's just,
highways. They're not far from the highway.
So the second entryway is not specifically on this plat, right?
No, they're having Clark do it, draw it up. That's going to be finalized here pretty soon, but they'll finish this road out as part of phase one and then come up along this fence line. So phase one will incorporate access here. It's just not on your
So
diagram.
This is a final plat. Council will have to reference that being included in the deal and approval of engineering, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should. Yeah, it's in their notes there.
So Wildflower must be a county-maintained road, is
Hmm.
that correct?
Not anymore. We'd have to annex it as part of this.
Yeah,
When
we
we
would
annexed
have.
Wildflower originally, it did not include the road at all.
Did-
And at that same legislative session, it's required that we cannot not annex it, so
So you have to annex
we
it.
will take it, and it will be ours. We're already doing some maintenance on it.
So, again,
Are these people gonna be getting on that road?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll be coming out here for phase one,
And that's,
and that's their, I guess, the back entrance.
yeah.
And then phase two would also use that. Phase three come up that way.
So these homes will be in the city limits, but not in the school district? Is that
That's
what I
correct.
understand?
School
Midway?
district is Midway.
Midway.
On the south side of that old railroad right away is Midway School District.
Jimmy, I would expect that school will get kids out of that.
Yeah, there'll be one, I mean, that, wouldn't you figure that's, there'll be a lot of transfer requests out of
No
that?
doubt, we
Oh,
expect
yeah.
transfers out of that.
We certainly have anticipated that.
Well,
Might be time to charge.
Well, they do.
Oh, do
Okay, so this is final plat. This is something we have seen. So at this time, public hearing is open at 7:50. Anybody, comment from the public? Hearing nothing, this public hearing is closed. To item 6 is discussion possible action regarding final platting of Cotton Belt Crossing Residential Development Phase 1. Anything to add, Brian?
The developers here, I think 2,200 square foot homes, side entry.
that sounds good.
Yeah. Well, they are the only developer that we have right now that is also doing all gas appliances. So I don't know what decision making or how much impact that has for y'all, but for a lot of people, that's a big deal.
It is good.
Yeah.
I guess.
I'm gonna try to sell him a lot. He needs to move here. He likes gas plant.
They told me that they were going to allow chickens, so.
Here's your chicken. Okay, we approve to do this?
Yeah, is there a motion on item 6?
Motion that we approve the final plat of Cotton Belt Crossing Phase 1.
Yeah, second.
So motion is second on item 6. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all's in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 7 is to hold a public hearing regarding preliminary plating for hometown construction plan development.
So y'all saw this one a few months ago with the replat. This is different property owners. They've since sold it. This is currently zoned 7.2. So you have Amsler Park behind you. This is 317. This is a 7.2 zoning. Doing a small plan development just to help address some of their lot width concerns. Most of the lots are 48 by 200. It's a 9,600 square foot lot, but it's just a little narrower than our R7.2 standard. Planned to build about 1,800 plus square foot homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. They do have a shared driveway to get them off of Main Street there. And then each home will have individual access to the park from the rear. And they plan on donating this lower portion here to the city with a utility easement so we can run electrical line to a lighted Amsler Park sign there. Water is in front. And sewer, we're looking at utilities still. The original plan was to have each home have its own individual grinder pump and then pump it up to Red Oak. We're looking at the possibility of running these homes here down a line to a manhole here and then under Windsor and then this house onto Red Oak. They're still working out the drainage and the utility stuff.
Yeah, that manhole sits right in that corner, doesn't it?
Don't know if there's one there right now.
It's across the street.
Yeah, there's one.
So it'll have to go to the road.
Yeah, there's one over here where those apartments are at, but right there's that old pump
You're right.
thing that's right there.
You're right. So the only one that would go to Red Oak is the one at the very top.
Yes, sir. That's that one right there.
That would make more sense for everybody, but if that can be made to work.
That was the developer's original plan.
Smart call.
And what is that called again?
What's that?
The one that you would be putting individually?
A grinder pump. So each house has its own pump, takes your waste, pushes it uphill. Yeah. I'm sure there's a more scientific.
It's individualized lift station.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is preliminary plat phase. We've got some notes from the P and Z. Looks like they approved this project.
Yeah, they did recommend for approval on this project.
Yeah. Okay, so at this time, public hearing is open at 7:56. And I know, sir, you're the one who signed up here, so you're more than welcome to speak.
Well, hi, I'm Matt. I'm the owner of Hometown. It's my partner, Sarah, developer on the lot. And so really, I just want to see if you have any questions and then let you know this is a 3D image. You don't have any other images that I sent possibly to you. Side note, just because that's me and my personality, we're investing in this. I heard a comment earlier in regards to not having plans. My plans are done on these houses. It's part of investing. If you guys don't allow us to do something, we'll use it on another property somewhere else. And so I think it's important that you see what we want to do because you don't do what we do every day. And so if you want to see an image between now and any time, let us know that. I don't know exactly how everything works, but I want you to be able to individually make a good decision. It matters to us too. One of the things, this house over here is representing Red Oak. That's actually going to be mine and my wife's house. We're going to be part of this development. And so we live in Crawford. Don't hold it against me. I told him that at the P&Z meeting.
We do.
So,
yeah, you too, Jacob. Sorry.
My son's graduating in May. He's going to be going to Georgetown for college for football, and I'm not really sure our next destination, but we know we wanted it to be here. We've got some friends in the area, and kind of can stay centrally located and everything. And so there's going to be some ownership in this project. Sarah, her mom, is looking at relocating to be closer to them. They live in the Badger Ranch area, and looking at getting one of these houses. We have tried to have some preliminary talks with Brian on getting him to move here as well, and so would love to sell him a house. But there's some definitely personal interest in wanting this project to happen. I'm looking at doing 9-foot ceilings in all the houses where they feel a little bigger. The roof lines were all on purpose raised a little bit. That cost us money as far as framing and roofing and material and labor, but we wanted the houses to not look so cookie cutter. That's not the exact colors of the houses either, but just to show that we want some stuff to be different. The far house that's white on the end, and there's like a brick ledge kind of at the bottom there. It's kind of hard to see in that image, but just adding some little things here and there to make them kind of feel different. So
You use hardy plank?
hardy all the way around the house, yes sir, yes sir. Spray foam
It's a
insulation.
big issue to me personally right now.
Yes sir. All have a garage, 2-car garage, oversized garage. Really, what questions do y'all have?
How many houses will there be?
6 here, so those 3, 6, and then 7th would be ours on Red Oak there.
I just-
Yes, ma'am.
Not to be nitpicky, but if the farthest southern house It's kind of notched in there, and I just feel like there might be something we could do in the PUD to give that a little bit further back off of that common driveway. Just a thought, and I think we can kind of work on that a little bit, even with the floodplain right there. Let's just take a look at that. I just.
And is that meaning, and it's just new to me, I'm not gonna act like I know, is that just where there's a 25 foot or 20 foot offset on the back, being
Yeah,
able to
just-
push back into that some?
Since you're doing it as a PUD, I think we could look at that a little bit closer.
Yes, sir.
It just kind of creates a tight spot right on that corner that just looks out of place to me.
Okay.
And I would just want to make it better for whoever lives there and for y'all too, maybe. But
Yes, sir.
that's the only thought I have.
Okay.
I like the way you did the common drive. That's, instead of having a driveway for every house out on the main right there, that was the first thing we thought about, and they were very willing to go along with this. In fact, they were originally looking at all the drives coming in from the back as well.
It's really important to have, you think about kiddos in that park. I didn't realize how awesome that park was, to be honest. I had no idea. I didn't know y'all stock it with fish, with the fishery that was out there. I saw that one day. Oh, I say that too loud. Yeah, people were fishing immediately out there, but just how much it gets used. You know, so it's really important. We want to put a gate in at every, backyard where a family can enjoy that, and be a part of it. And I know my wife will go walking and feel safe doing so. It's a really nice area. So it's also important when he talked about gifting that lot over there, getting some light there. I mean, it's really dark when you drive by. Yeah. Is one thing. There's no city light there, and it's also, a sign to something that's so nice there as well. So
we're actually looking at trying to put solar units out there along the trail and along the area so that it doesn't have to close down at night all the time. But we're still kind of looking at that. Woodway's had some success with some units, and Cassie went over to visit with them this week, or last Friday. We've had several forays with folks on that piece of property, and this is by far the best one that's been on.
thank you.
Okay, you might keep your spot there. We'll see if I'll open up the public hearing now at 8 o'clock. Anybody from the public want to comment under item 7? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. That takes us to item 8, which is discussion and possible action regarding preliminary plating for hometown construction plan development. Is there a motion under item 8?
I make a motion we approve a hometown construction plan development.
Second that.
There's a motion, a second under item 8 regarding the preliminary plating for the plan development. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, looks good.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion carries. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
appreciate it. To item 9 is to hold a public hearing regarding replat of an unaddressed parcel on East 7th Street.
So this is a piece of land that is over here by Cassing Park on 7th Street. It's open. You can see it right there. There's a bunch of open fields behind it. Zoned R10. And the gentleman bought it. He had it resurveyed. It's slightly less than what he was told it was. It comes in at .469 acres or 20,429 feet. It is 128 wide and 160 deep. He would like to split it right down the middle, and that would make it 64 wide by 160 deep. Our R10 zoning calls for 80-foot width, but 125 depth. It does have water and sewer in front of it, and there's a major lift station at the park.
So he would have R10 size, a little bit more than R10 size, just be a little narrower.
A little narrower, yes, sir.
Does any part of our park get over onto their property? I was just looking at this afternoon with Brian, and the way the CAD map looks like the park actually is crept over onto their property. So we need to, when they get out and survey that, we need to make sure where we're at.
So there was this house, if that's what you're looking at, Kevin.
Okay, it's the other side, you're right.
Yeah, there's a house here, and both of the adjacent houses had storage units that were actually over the property line, and this one, I believe, destroyed theirs or got rid of it, and this one moved it over.
It's the other lot, then, it's the other, where the house is. We need to check that out and make sure we're not.
This one here, Chad. But, yeah, the lots, it does look a little trapezoidal, I guess. I checked with the appraisal district on the survey. They said the surveys are accurate for whatever reason. Every house that's built right there is off center of its actual plot, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So it may be in a mapping error back in the day, or everybody may have just built to one side, but now he's contending with a little bit of lopsidedness.
All right, so, we'll open the public hearing first. It is 8:04, public hearing on item 9 regarding the replat of an unaddressed parcel on East 7th Street. Public hearing is open at 8:06. Anybody care to comment on this issue? Hearing none. Public hearing is closed. That takes us to item 10, discussion possible action regarding replat of an unaddressed parcel on East 7th Street. So this is a little bit of return to an issue we've addressed, and that is taking a big lot and now we're chopping it up into 2 lots so we can put more houses on it. Tell us why this is different from any of those other issues, or is it not?
Is it already zoned R10?
It is zoned R10.
And he's taking a 20,000-foot lot and making it into 2 R10s.
Okay.
It's a little narrower than our ordinance would like, but
Quite a bit deeper.
yeah, much deeper.
So we end up with essentially 2 R10 lots.
Mhm.
And R10 is the biggest lot size under our zoning ordinance, correct?
That's right.
So what is where is it with the unaddressed parcel? Where,
It's not addressed.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, it just doesn't have an address.
so is it that property that's on the end?
Yeah, this is
It's like between 2 houses.
yeah, I think this is
Okay.
McKinney. This is McKinney and 7th, and this is Cassing Park.
The man standing before you there will have to address the 2 lots.
So it's between those 2 houses?
Right, so there's about a half acre of property that's right there.
Where the for sale sign is at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if it's, so okay, on the house, the one on the left and on the right is the address, right?
Well, these,
have to have-
yeah, these are both addressed, but this particular piece of property is not. So when he begins to build those, we have to address them, and I've already tentatively addressed one, the 500 block, because the street goes down the middle, and the other one is 600 block. So, yeah.
Any other questions or concerns about 10 for staff? Otherwise, I'd call for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the replat of an unaddressed parcel at East 7th Street.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on item 10. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion carries. 11 is to hold a public hearing regarding zoning variance for empty lot at 1406 West 9th Street.
So we have a clerical error on that one. That's the mailing address of the property owner. He's actually at 1500 9th, so this is the property owner's address, and he owns this house and this lot as well.
Wait, tell me, try to figure out where we are.
This is A100 building or C3.
Oh, yeah.
So he's right over here, Launchpad
Right across
Park.
from, like,
Yeah, Bewley is right there.
Okay.
So this was, in your notes, it was recommended P&Z table this item. They have this structure, it's a 1-car garage that is on the line of the parcel, and P&Z would like to see that go away before they would allow a zoning variance due to lot width. So just wanted to present it to y'all. It is zoned R7.2. Parcel would be 50 by 140. Zoning calls for another 10-foot wide, so that really causes an issue with this being there, and you can kind of see the drawing there. Existing garage over the property line, same landowner. P&Z felt like, although it would probably be okay right now, if the kids ever decided to sell the property, that becomes a legal battle, you know, in the next decade or so. So the old garage would have to go for them to grant his variance, is what P&Z said. He's proposing at least a 1,200 square foot house. Right now it's a little further back to accommodate the garage, but again, that wouldn't be an issue. Water is on Lincoln Street, which is over here, and then the sewer is in the alley behind it. Y'all should have the street view, the Google Street View of the garage. Yeah.
P&Z paid for this item?
I'm sorry?
P&Z paid for this item?
Yes, sir.
So we get rid of the garage and whatever else.
You let property go all the way over to the trees.
What's that?
Let it go all the way over to the trees.
That's right.
Off the line.
My question was,
Make it go back.
because this is incorrect on the agenda, can
Basically,
you, or would we just continue?
Got it. So it does go all the way to the trees, Mr. Henderson, right here.
Well, if P&Z hadn't done anything with it, we can't either.
Let it go.
But it was already on the agenda, so he had to tell you
Yeah,
that it was
yeah.
tabled and give you the
So we
information.
we'll have the public hearing
Sure.
under item 11. Does anybody from the public at 8:10 have any comments? Public hearing is open under item 11. Anybody? Public hearing is closed. That takes us to item 12. Discussion possible action regarding zoning variance for empty lot at 1406 West 9th Street. With P&Z having tabled them, item 12, we'll just simply pass it.
Okay.
Takes us to 13, discussion possible action regarding approval of resolution R-6-2023, a resolution of the city of McGregor, Texas, renaming a road to better portray the character and spirit of community within the city of McGregor.
You got a map up?
I don't have it up there.
This would be Crane.
Crane Road.
That is the north-south road that is behind C3, right up against the fence line, right up against the fire station. We now have cause to address someone on that, which is Allied Metal Buildings, which we will close on that tomorrow. You have an item related to that in just a minute. Closing is set for tomorrow, and they need an address. And I would like to propose, somewhat selfishly, that be renamed from Crane, which it's not even a dedicated street yet. We will dedicate it in the near future, and set it up on a right-of-way. This road eventually will go all the way. It's on your comprehensive plan in your traffic plan to go all the way to 84 along the alignment that it has till it gets to Old Oglesby Road. Then it has to jog over a little bit and will line up with the existing City View Road. I'd like to name that Kilpatrick Way in honor of Paul Kilpatrick. Nobody's on it now. It won't impact anybody except the folks that are fixing to be on it. And I just think that'd be a good road. It'll be a road that eventually gets to 84 and will be a secondary entrance into the industrial park.
So it's not doing away with Crane Road. I guess this piece of road is called Crane by default.
Well, several names were put on those road out there whenever you got it from the feds, from the Navy. And a lot of those names were just names of the people that were handling that closeout by the Navy.
Crane's not. He's the first mayor.
Okay, I'm just telling you that's what was done.
But there's
That's
a
what I
road
was
out
told.
there named,
Well,
Robert,
then-
which was named after it was black,
That may not be the right thing to do
Randall
then.
Road is the one.
Yeah.
It's named after Mr. Randall, that was the black postman, I mean, not postman, but the mail carrier.
Yeah, I'm for it in concept of naming some road out there in name of
but-
Paul, but I don't wanna,
This one's named after the first mayor. We
It
need to leave
is.
it there. And
It
that's
is.
the first time I've heard that.
yeah.
'Cause it's not even, it's not even really a road, but that, we'll just leave it at
So that's why I
Crane.
was asking, are there other Crane roads out there, because there might be. I distinctly remember, I think we did this years and years ago.
Crane, McGuffey, you probably did it when you got the property then, because you had to name the roads. McGuffey, and so, we'll just leave it at Crane, and I'll come back with Kilpatrick Way or something else.
Yeah, with-
I was ignorant of your knowledge.
I know, we're thankful for that knowledge, though.
That was a good thought.
We'll get there.
Mayors are a little bit touchy about their
Well,
big roads.
have we got a herring drive picked out yet? I withdraw my request.
And again, I think it's a
Good
fine
idea.
idea. I do. I think we all agree with that. It's a fine idea. We just need to,
I'll pick better next time.
find the right one. Okay, so, this takes us to, item 14. Discussion, possible action regarding submission of one nominee for the seat 1 position on the McLennan County 911 Emergency Assistance District.
Do we have anybody on here?
Yeah, we normally do, don't we? See the letter there in the. Attached is a nomination form. Kevin, you have any idea?
None whatsoever. I don't think James has enough to do. You could probably put him on there. You'd get to work with your old friend, Yo Zachary.
So with the individual, the majority of votes cast will be declared the appointee to seat 1. And I don't know how many voting entities there are. Do we know?
Everybody in the county.
Collectively, municipality in McLennan County, it says.
That's 21, huh?
21 people.
Yeah, I see that now. You know, sometimes I get a recommendation from other entities on who to put up or.
This is kind of a fast one. I think somebody resigned or retired.
Something happened, you
Brett
have
is
to fill the
from
vacancy.
Woodway and
But don't we have somebody on here?
Khalil is,
I think we nominated somebody last time.
I'm not sure who.
I know, so in Woodway,
it may
Brett
be
is
Steve.
retiring, our assistant police chief Khalil El Halabi. I believe he is putting in as a nomination. But I guess this is just if we wanted to put in our own nominee, right?
Yes.
And you'll get a chance at voting on whoever gets on here regardless.
Well, so I don't know that it's that important that we nominate, because we'll get to vote, but is there anybody that wants to be? Kevin, do you think there's anybody that even, and again, just because we nominate them doesn't mean they're gonna get it, so.
You have to be voted on.
So Kevin, any? Yes?
Baden Smith,
Oh,
he's more knowledgeable than anybody I know.
That's true.
Is he,
that'd be a good one.
Okay, so if we nominate him tonight and he says, why in the world did y'all do that?
Well, he just retired twice, so.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I guess we could withdraw that nomination if he says, I don't wanna do that.
Just vote against him when the time comes.
Don't
on
vote at
the,
all.
on the 911 board though, is it mainly like police chiefs or is it,
No, there's people that they just handle 911 like they, he is so knowledgeable, his 911 state and supervisor, and the van's a part of that. He wants, you know, he knows what to do after it's too big for us local. He knows who to contact and go from there.
I see some heads nodding out there, so maybe let's nominate Van and someone tell him after the fact.
I'll be happy to tell him, sir.
And if he says no, then you
I
can,
won't let him say no.
Well, we won't vote for him when he comes back.
yeah, then Kevin's right, we'll vote against him.
Because
Yeah, Van's such a good servant though, I bet he'll do it, so. All right, well, is there a motion to nominate Van?
I make a motion, we nominate Van Smith for the 911 committee or whatever it is.
Second. There's a motion and a second under item 14. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To 15, discussion of possible action approving the city manager to sign closing documents for the sale of land to Merit Fabricators LLC.
Closing's tomorrow morning, and I have to be there at 11:30, unless Jimmy wants to be there at 11:30.
I've got a presentation to give at 12 myself, so. Again, we've already approved this, we discussed it in executive session, we've approved it, we came out of executive session at the last meeting. Charlie's prepared all the documents, so, but Kevin needs the authority to act on it.
Well, I'll make a motion that we give city manager authority to sign those documents.
Second.
There's a motion, a second, on item 15. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. Let's pick up real quick. I'm gonna jump to 21. Discussion, possible action regarding the naming of the official newspaper of the city of McGregor.
Pretty please, would you go back to the Mirror? Pretty please with sugar on it.
I'll make a motion that we name the Mirror as the official newspaper of the city of McGregor.
I second it.
There's a motion, a second, to name the McGregor Mirror as the city newspaper. Any other questions or comments? James, on behalf of the city, we certainly appreciate you picking up that labor of love, and I hope that it also proves profitable for you as well. Yeah, I know you do. But
We're looking forward to it.
yeah.
We think it's gonna be a good fit for us, hopefully with the city.
Yeah, that's great. So I can say thank you and congratulations on behalf of the city, but also personally. I think after reading what you put in the paper, I think we all agree that we all grew up under the Mirror. It kind of raised us all up around here. So grateful to have someone like yourself and your family that's willing to pick that up and knows all of us, knows the community, place you call home. So thank you. Thank you very much. So all those in favor of changing the official paper back to McGregor Mirror, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. Well, you got one customer back. Okay, that takes us back to item 16. Carolyn received the financials as of February 28th, 2023.
Mayor, council, February represents 41.67% of our fiscal year. And as you will see, almost all of our revenues exceed that mark with the exception of the exchange. And then our expenditures are all below that mark as well. So we're still doing well there. Our net cash in bank is 1.96 million more than the same period last year. Operating accounts are up 67,000. Pool cash is up 2.3 million. Grants are up 16,000, and capital projects and debt service accounts decreased 18,700 and 401,000 respectively, as compared to last year. General fund net cash flow is 5,000 more than the previous year. Revenue is up 545,000, and expenditures are up 540,000. The revenue increase is mainly due to higher sales tax of 267.5 and higher construction permits of 334. If you'll note, expenditure increases include capital outlay increases of 130, and then community development expenditures of 327,000, of which 271,000 of that is contracted services, which is mainly plan review. So you see the higher revenue, the higher expenditure. It's a pass-through. The exchange net cash flows are down 46,000 as compared to the same period last year. Revenues are down 21 and expenses are up 25. Personnel costs are up 10.3 and contracted services are up 15.6. Municipal airport net cash flows are down 21,000. Revenues are down 15 and expenses are up 6.6. There's just all the detail of the bank accounts, and then the expenditures by fund as well, which we just went over. And then there you can see where the operating accounts are up 67, debt service down 401, capital projects down 18,000, and grants up 16,000. And your pool cash up 2.2 for a net of 1.9 increase, which is what we had on the first slide. And then comes our sales tax. We're at $996,000 this February. And if you look back to 2014, I believe that was a 259% increase since 2014. So, I mean, it's steadily rising. Not quite doubled from last year.
So when you give us that, for example, sales tax figure last year, that's at the same time of the year we're comparing?
Correct.
Yeah.
We're looking at year-to-date from October through February.
Gotcha.
So February of all those years, that's where we were at.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Carolyn? All righty, thanks, Carolyn.
You bet.
All right, so at this time, it's 8:27. We've got closed meeting to talk about, I guess, this prospect. So we've got closed meeting pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.071 legal, .072 real estate, .074 personnel, .087 economic development. Kevin, which one are we under tonight?
Economic development.
So that takes us to D, which is section 551.087, discussion regarding economic development negotiations, including commercial or financial information received from a business prospect seeking to locate, stay, or expand, enter into the city of McGregor to discuss economic development negotiations and/or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect. So it is 8:28. At this time, we'll recess into executive session, come out to take any action. Actually, there's not an action
There
item.
will not be
so
any action tonight.
This is just for informational purposes about what we have going on with potential economic development prospects. And then we'll come out and finish items 18, 19, and 20. So with that, we stand in executive session. Brian, you tell me when you're on. Okay. So we are out of executive session. There are no action items tonight. Takes us to item 18, announcements from the city manager. Kevin, what you got?
Housing still going forward in several areas. Still dealing with a lot of interest in the industrial park. And maybe more importantly, you have a new car wash coming to town. School is about out. There are all kinds of activities going on between now and the end of May. And my daughter's graduating, so please pray for me. People ask me how I'm doing. I tell them I'm old, fat, tired, and stupid, but when Harley goes to college, I won't be quite as stupid. That's all, Mayor.
All right. Council.
Where are we at on the splash pad?
Splash pad? What splash pad?
We still doing that?
The last I heard, we are waiting on them to deliver the units. What did they call it? They had a delay of manufacturing or something.
On the actual spouting fixtures, the canopies and the picnic tables are in place, and the pad is completely poured.
Really?
It looks really cool.
Wow.
Just waiting on the delivery of the units to set them up.
All right.
That's good.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So part of the fence over there at Bewley Park was taken down around the old tennis court. And a lot of people got super excited about, oh, they're doing something there. But I didn't really know what to comment on that, other than they were taking down the fence.
Right now, just trying to get it cleaned up because I'm tired of looking at it and have been for 10 years.
Yeah.
We'll come forward later with some probabilities. I really would like to talk to the new superintendent about building 4 courts next to theirs and helping build a tournament facility with lights that could be used.
You talking about tennis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got 4 courts. They just begged to have 4 more built with the stands in between them looking both ways.
That'd be nice.
Well, you can't lock us out of them, though.
Well, no, they never did until the things got blown over
Yeah.
and got vandalized.
Yeah, and I don't blame them, but. And a covered basketball court would be cool, too. You don't have to put lights on it, all that, just the cover. Oh, I know something. My wife had 2 kids come back to school this week. Can we do something about the metal nets at Amsler Park? One kid got 5 stitches and another kid cut his hands up pretty good from just playing ball and like rebounding into a metal net. And I don't know if it's got a
We'll
barb
get them.
hanging in it or.
If they're metal nets, then they tend to bend as
Yeah.
the kids hang on it.
Net for what?
I'll talk to
Basketball
Cassie
instead of
in the morning.
vinyl nets.
Oh, okay, I
Like
get it.
metal nets.
I'll talk to Cassie in the morning.
They
Yeah.
they can jump that high?
Yeah, some of them can.
I can't.
I've seen them play out there. There's some big old boys.
We'll check on it.
Okay, okay. All right, anything else? All right, this meeting's adjourned at 9:31.
Thank y'all very
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
We need a water burner right